Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to your essay writing and presentation skills class. We are done with all the types of essays and the major portion that we were supposed to do during the semester. I hope that you are enjoying learning about the different essay types, and I hope that you have enjoyed how to write down one good essay while you prepare for writing down or once you plan for becoming a good writer. Now today is your lecture number 21 in which we are thoroughly going to talk about the essay exam that you are supposed to take of all the essay types that we have done so far. Now don't worry and don't panic, because I am here to guide you. I am here to give you a good outline for as how to attempt or how to solve one good essay writing exam. So to begin with, let's quickly recap that what we have done in our previous lecture. In the previous lecture, we have thoroughly discussed the literature essay. That was the last essay type that we were supposed to ponder on while writing or while discussing our essay series. So we thoroughly discussed that what is a literature essay. Basically, that's also substituted as one of an essay type, one of an analysis in which you try to restate or you try to retell author's point of view that is provided with the evidences or the quotes being taken from the piece of literature that you have selected for analysis. So this is how you define your literature essay. We have discussed the different parts of literature essay, starting from the introduction part to your main body part and then your conclusion part, that how you are supposed to write them. Remember, in your introduction paragraph we thoroughly told you and we have thoroughly discussed that how you are supposed to insert your main question of your debate in your topic sentence. So in this way you are supposed to make sure that how you can make it different from other pieces of literature, from other pieces of essays. Now how to write one literature essay, we discussed that you are supposed to write down your question statement in your literature essay in your introduction. Then you are supposed to have at least 5 distinct points to be discussed in your paragraphs, and then your conclusion should be strongly tied up and strongly linked up with your introduction. There is a checklist for writing down one good. Then there is a checklist for after you write your literature essay, and you can check on all the points that are supposed to be kept in mind for writing down one good literature essay. Then we have discussed some different types of literature essays, like novel essay, like drama essay, like poetry essay, and so on and so forth. And we also discussed on the elements which can be picked up for writing down one good literature essay. Then there were some topics of literature essay that you are supposed to keep in mind, or you can take help from while you choose for writing one good literature essay. The major example that we have discussed, although we hadn't had time to go from each and every line of the essay because that was some bit lengthy, because that was basically focusing on the character of Hamlet from the Shakespeare's drama Hamlet. So all the text, all the quoting details, we have seen one example of how actually the your literature essay looks like and how you can create one on your own. So that was all that we have discussed in our previous lecture. We are done with all the essay types: descriptive, definition, analysis essay, critical essay, compare and contrast essay, reflective essay, evaluative essay, and so many more. And today we are going to see that if you get one question to solve in your exam that talks about writing down an essay on a particular note, how you can do that in those 3 hours. So don't worry about that and don't panic, because I am here to tell you that how you are supposed to attempt your essay in your exam. Now attempting a paper is some kind of a pressure. Now that you appear for the exam, the situation is not the same, and the situation is not alike as it is in the everyday routine. We are under pressure, and we are already so much tense that we cannot put our best in the exam. But to remain focused and relaxed, I am to share with you some of the techniques that you can use to write down one good essay in your exam. To begin with, let's try to see that what is an essay exam. A test in which you write an essay on a certain number of paragraphs in response to a question. Now, to begin with, you are supposed to only write down some paragraphs: introduction paragraph, the supporting details, that can be 3 or more than 3, and then your conclusion paragraph. So you are supposed to write down only 5 paragraphs. So what to worry about? Why are you so much worried to write down one essay in your exam? I know what tension you are suffering with and what tension you are in, because you are so much panicked that how to attempt one essay exam. It helps the teacher check your ability to organize and write paragraphs on an essay. Since this is an exam and you are to judge and you are to finalize on that what are you going to write down in your essay, maybe you are panicked because you are worried about getting good marks in your exams. So this is going to be very crucial point for you to make sure to see that how you are going to handle that question within the limited span of time. So let's see how do you do that. Now moving on to the next slide. Once you are preparing for the exam, make sure that you know what is expected of you, what content will be covered, and how many questions will be there in the exam. Every good teacher tells you that what would be the format of your exam and what do you have to keep in mind, what is expected of you. There are some instructions also written down on your essay paper or your essay exam, which one you are supposed to follow while you are answering, or you are trying to answer each and every question of your own. So in this way you are supposed to connect to, or you are supposed to stick to all the questions that have been asked in the exam, and then you are going to answer accordingly. Ask yourself that what do I know about this material and what do I need to know. So once you are being given the outline for the exam, make sure that you try to answer these questions, that what do you already know about that material and what else you are supposed to know about that material once you decide on preparing for your essay exam. Now taking the exam preview, the first thing is the skim over the entire exam to get a sense of everything you have to do. Now that you have the whole paper in front of you, that is your exam sheet, you are supposed to skim through every question to see that what exactly you know about that paper and what exactly you are supposed to do in that paper. Then estimate how much time you have to spend on each question. For example, if you have 4 questions in 2-hour time period, plan for 30 minutes to organize, write and review each question. So this is how you divide your time. So the first thing that you are supposed to do is to skim through the paper and see that how many questions you are supposed to do, which ones you know good, which ones you are competent on, and which ones you can attempt later and you can solve later. Then once that you have drawn this priority, try to see that how you are going to manage your time. For you are basically the standard format is that you are supposed to solve your exam in these 3 standard hours, and you divide your exam accordingly depending on the number of the questions that you have or you are supposed to attempt while attempting your paper. Now identify which essay question you want to answer first. So you are going to see and you are going to decide on that which essay question, if there are 2 essays, if there is only 1 essay to be solved, so you are going to decide on that which essay question you want to answer. Read the question carefully. Many students do poorly on essay exams because they misread the question. So you are supposed supposed to, you know, decide on this thing, that you are not going to dangle, or you are not going to divert from the basic question being asked. You are supposed to stick to the question. Maybe if there are more than things being asked in the question, try to underline them with your pen so that you can directly focus on them in your exam. Underline keywords or phrases which you feel are important. Determine whether the question is asking you to respond to more than one thing. So once you will underline all the points that you are supposed to focus on in the question, that will help you see that how many aspects you are supposed to focus on while writing the essay question. Now, essay questions, there are some action words that were discussed and that are discussed while making down or while, you know, attempting one good essay writing paper. The first thing that you are supposed to remember is to discuss. Consider important characteristics and main points of discussion. Now, keep in mind these action words which are going to help you solve the essay exam carefully. First of all, discuss. Consider important characteristics and main points. Now, for the discussion, keep in mind the important characteristics of the question and the main points which are being asked in the question. Then compare, show how items are similar or different, include details or examples. So you are going to see all of these action words once you plan on writing down one essay in your essay exam. Contrast, show how items are different. It includes details or examples. So this is how, if you are being given any question in which you are supposed to do the comparison, so you are going to focus on the items which are similar or different, and you are going to include the detailed examples in them also. If it is going to be the contrast essay, you are going to show that how items are different and include details or examples. So if you are being given one question that talks about the comparison, you are supposed to focus on similarities and differences both, supported with the examples. And if you are given one contrast question, try to see that how items are different and include the details or examples. If you are being asked to define something, give an accurate meaning of the term with enough detail to show that you really understand it. Or in other words, try to give your own definition of that very word that is there for the defining purpose, or that is there for the purpose of providing the definition of something. So this is how you can give an accurate meaning of the term with enough detail to show that you really understand it. So these are some action words also. Now moving on to the next slide, let's see another action word that asks you to explain something. Now this while you are being asked in the question to explain something, you are supposed to answer by providing or by giving facts and details that make the idea or concept clear and understandable. So your explanation should be broad enough, or should be the relevant enough to give facts and details that make the idea or concept look clear and that becomes understandable for your audience. Now the next thing that you are supposed to see if you are being given any question for the evaluation, react to the topic in a logical way. By doing so, you are supposed to discuss the merits, strengths, weaknesses, advantages, or the limitations of the topic. So this is how you actually attempt to evaluate any question or any topic that you want to bring or you want to solve in your exam. The next thing or the next action word that can be asked from you to solve in the exam can be the summarization. Cover the major points in the brief form. Use a sentence and paragraph form. So the sentence and paragraph form can be used if you are asked to summarize the whole essay question. Another word that is being asked in the exam is to describe. Now, how do you describe? You can describe anything by saying how it happened, who was involved, where did it happen, and why did it happen. So you are going to see that very thing from every possible angle that you can, and to tell something, and to tell about it, why something happened, and how something happened, and where it happened, and what were the consequences, and so on and so forth. So it particularly describes the whole event or the whole incident. The next action word that can be used or that can be asked in the exam is to justify. Now, while you are doing the justification of the essay, give reasons that support an action, event, or policy. These things you are supposed to keep in mind if you are being asked to justify the question. Now, another action word that is also being used in essay exam is criticize. Now, once you are being asked to criticize something, make judgments about quality or worth, including both positive and negative aspects. So in this way you can pick out the good and the bad qualities of the piece of work, or you can look at the strengths and weaknesses, advantages or disadvantages of anything. Another thing, if you are being asked to prove your topic, or if you are being given some topic and you are being asked to prove it, you are supposed to keep in mind that you demonstrate or establish that a concept or theory is correct, logical, or valid. So in this way you can actually be able to prove your point to the audience. Now, in essay exam, organization and neatness have merit. Now, if your essay looks organized, or if your thoughts are organized and they are neatly written down. Now, see, if there is a lot of cutting in your paper and there is a lot of removing in your paper won't look very good. So, the thumb rule is that those exams or those essay papers or those people who keep their essay writing exam neat and organized will get good marks. So you are going to keep these two thumb rules in your mind. The first one is of organization and the second one is of the neatness, that both of them, they have merits for writing down one good essay. Now, before writing out the exam, write down their keywords, listings, etc. as they are fresh in your mind. Now that you are skimming through your paper and you are reviewing different questions in your paper, and then you see that you are supposed to do this, you are supposed to do that. Now related to that, you get a lot of ideas that I will write this in my paper, I will write that on my paper, in my paper. But when the time comes to write about these things, you forget to write these things in your exam at that very point, because sometimes you are lacking time, or sometimes you are so much panicked that you cannot focus on writing those keywords which were there once you actually thought of starting your paper. So the best idea is that before writing out the exam, try to write down the keywords on the rough sheet and try to make the listings of all those keywords, all those ideas which are coming in your mind on the separate piece of paper on your rough sheet, the examination on the back of examination sheet which you label as rough work, so that you are not going to lose those ideas while you are writing or you are attempting that very question to which those ideas are related. Now try to see that in those 3 hours in which you are supposed to try your essay exam, sometimes it happens that you have so many ideas in your mind, they keep on coming in your mind while you are attempting any other question. You keep on thinking of that what I have to and how I have to attempt the next question. Maybe if you have done any question previously and you forget to insert in something, so you can write down your points at the end of your rough sheet, so that you can, if you get any time in the end for proofreading, you can insert those points on the related places where you wanted them to be in. Now try to see, once we are in a process of solving exams, there are a lot of thoughts which are coming in mind. You are not going to forget them. Make sure that you keep on listing them, and you keep on noting down the keywords, as not to drag your attention, or as not to lose your confidence of how much you can write and how much you can express and how much you can debate on in the exam. If you are not going to jot down these ideas on the separate rough sheet, or if you are not going to write down these keywords, these ideas may be blocked or may not be available when the time comes to write the later questions. This will reduce clutching or panic, anxiety, actually fear, which disrupts thoughts. So if you forget that wonderful idea that you got in the beginning, once you were thinking about attempting that question, and you did not keep a record of it in your rough sheet, you are going to forget that, and that is going to give you that is going to panic you more, because the stress of solving the other questions as well as working on the question that you are thinking about while solving one question will not lead you anywhere. Another good thing that you are supposed to keep in mind, and most of the examiners also appreciate, that you do not write on the question paper. Now your question paper should not look dirty, because or there should not be anything written on your question paper, because the invigilators, they get impression that you are trying to tell your friend by writing something on your question paper, the one who is sitting right next to you, or maybe you are trying to help someone by writing things on your question paper. So don't write things on your question paper. Try to jot down all ideas on the rough sheet on the back side of your answering sheet, so that use the lead pencil. Take one lead pencil along with you in your exam, so that you can write down and you can jot down all the key terms and the basic ideas, listings, and can make listings once you are prepared to write for your exam. Now the second thing that you are supposed to do is to set up a time schedule to answer each question and to review, edit all questions. You are supposed to divide them into different times. If 6 questions are to be answered in 60 minutes, allow yourself only 7 minutes for each. So you are going to divide the same time for every question, because every question is of the same importance in your essay. If questions are have got the weightage, prioritize that into your time allocation for each question. Now if there is any question, if you are attempting the question paper of 50 marks, and there is one question that carries 20 marks, and there is another question that carries 5 marks, so which one you will attempt first? Definitely you will attempt the one which carries 20 marks, because you cannot lose your 20 marks while giving so much focus on the 5 marks, and you keep on writing for those 5 marks, and you don't get time for writing for those 20 marks. So you are to judge accordingly, and you are to decide accordingly that which question you are supposed to pick up first, that one which got a lot of weightage, and you are going to divide your time accordingly. Once you are setting up your time, try to make sure that when the time is up for one question, stop writing. Now that you have divided your time frame, for example, you are to solve your paper in 1 hour of 25 marks, and you have divided your time accordingly, and there are 4 questions to be solved, so you say that I will give 15 minutes to every question. That carries almost the same weightage, the same marks for analysis. So once you are done with 15 minutes and you are unable to answer your question, or you are unable to complete your answer, move on to the next question by leaving space for that question to be completed. Now the incomplete answers can be completed during the review time. Now that you have divided your 1 hour into the 4 sections and 5 minutes for the review, try to see that if you get some time in the end, you are going to solve or complete those answers in those 5 minutes in quickly by making sometimes listings or bullets the way that suits you. 6 incomplete answers will usually receive more credit than 3 complete ones. So you will get marks for each and every question that is there. Maybe you have left that incomplete because of the time constraint, but if you are going to completely ban or completely shun one question or 2 questions in your exams that you did not get time to solve, you may put yourself in trouble, because you will lose marks, you will lose whole of the marks for them also. So this is another technique that can be used for writing down before you are actually scheduling your time frame for your paper. Now read through the questions once and note if you have any choice in answering questions. You are going to go through the paper and you are going to see that if you have got any choice between the different questions. Pay attention to how the question is phrased or to the directives or words such as compare, contrast, criticize, etc. Now that we have discussed all the action verbs that can come in your, or that can be the focus of attention while you attempt to solve your essay writing paper, you are supposed to make sure that what kind of a verb you are supposed to focus on, and what how you are supposed to answer that question. Now the question would say that define, criticize, summarize, contrast, compare, define, or something like that. So you are going to keep in mind those definitions that I have discussed with you in my previous slides, as to make sure that you are not going to digress or divert from the main focus of your answer. Now see their definitions in the previous slides. As I have told you, answers will come to your mind immediately for some questions. So this is how you can answer a few questions before you actually plan on writing your answers. Now before attempting to answer a question, put it into your own words. Now compare your version with the question. Do they mean the same thing? If you don't, you have misread the question. You will be surprised how often they don't agree. The best practice is that if you are not understanding the question, even if you are trying to highlight different words or you are trying to highlight different things that you are focused on in the question, try to rephrase that question or try to put that question into your own words. Now you are going to check both of the versions together. If the original question in the paper matches with your rephrased version or the one that you have written in your own words, it means that you have understood the question clearly. If not, there is some mistake, so you are going to reread the question again. Now you are supposed to think before you actually start your writing stage. The stuff that we had been talking about in the previous slides was related to your pre-writing stage, that the things that you are supposed to keep in mind before start writing or before start attempting your exam. Make a brief outline of each question. Now that you are in a practical situation and you are trying to solve your essay exam, maybe you are given 2 or 3 essays to be solved in your exam. So what you would do, you would make the outlines for every question that is being asked in the exam. Number the items in order you will discuss them and quickly order them. Like for example, now let's try to see that how do you do that. You are supposed to make, now if this is your question number 1, you would quickly write down its outline, right? You would note down the keywords which are there. Now you are doing that very quickly because you are running out of time and you don't have time to waste on these things. But to do so, you are writing the main ideas here, like this randomly. Here idea 1, you are going to mention them in the form of heading headings or maybe the keywords. Now out of these 3 or 4 ideas that you have got, try to see that how you are going to sequence them or how you are going to number them. If this idea seems to you the very finest one or the very relevant one, put that in at number 1, this one number 2, this one number 3, this one number 4. So the order of discussion should be sequential, or every thought should promote your main topic sentence or your main topic statement that is there to be answered. And this is how you make your outline, and you quickly decide the order of your discussion, that how you would be going on in your discussion. Now moving on to the next slide, we are to get to the right point. To do so, state your main point in the first sentence. Now your first sentence is the topic sentence, where you are going to tell about your main point of discussion. Use your first paragraph to provide an overview of your essay. As we had been talking about the different paragraphs in the essay, so your introduction paragraph should be the one which is presenting your major idea, that what exactly you are talking, you are going to talk about in your essay. Use the rest of your essay to discuss these points in more detail. Back up your points with specific information and examples or quotations from the readings and notes. So you can either list them down on your rough sheet before actually attempting your question, or if you have time, you can directly write them down in your paper. Now moving on to the next slide, teachers are influenced by the compactness. Now completeness and clarity of an organized answer is very important, and your thoughts should be well connected to each other. Now writing in the hope that the right answer will somehow turn up in the time consuming and is usually useless. So if you are going to waste a lot of your time on only one question, forgetting that the other questions also carry marks, you are going to only waste your time, because teachers only give you marks for your clarity and your organized manner of your attempting the paper. To know a little and to present that little well is by and large superior to knowing much and presenting it poorly when judged by the grade received. So you are supposed to make sure that your presentation is going to make the difference, that how do you present your thoughts on the piece of paper, that is more important than what do you know. Now writing and answering, once you are in a process of, once you are in on the stage of writing and answering your question, you are going to make sure that you begin with a strong first sentence. Now that particularly we are talking about the essay exam, you are going to see that how you are going to begin with a strong first sentence that states the main idea of your essay. So your topic or your the topic sentence of your introduction paragraph should be strong enough to tell the audience the main idea of your essay. Continue this first paragraph by presenting key points. So you can support your topic sentence, or you can write down your first paragraph by inserting all those key statements or all those key words which you will thoroughly use in your further paragraphs. Now develop your argument. To do so, begin each paragraph with a key point from the introduction. Now that your major introduction paragraph carried these key terms which were to be discussed in your upcoming paragraphs, make sure that all of you begin each of the paragraph with a key point from the introduction, so that they look logical and connected. Now develop each point in a complete paragraph. Now each of the key point or each of the key term that you want to elaborate should be well elaborated in a different into a complete paragraph that carries a topic sentence, the supporting details and the closing sentence. Then you are going to use the transitions or specify to connect your points logically. So this is how you can produce one good argument on your own. Now moving on to the next things, hold on to your time. Now this time management is really very important when you are solving your paper. Allocation and organization of your ideas is one major thing that you are supposed to keep in mind while you are attempting any paper. Avoid very definite statements. Those statements which are very obvious and which are very definite should be avoided. When possible, a qualified statement connotes a philosophical attitude, the mark of an educated person. Rather than being ignorant or only quoting those unqualified remarks which are not of that standard which your teacher is exactly looking for from you in the exam. So before you actually start writing down your paper, you must know that what level of exam you are giving and what is exactly expected of you. Qualify answers when in doubt. It is better to say toward the end of the 19th century than to say in 1894. When you can't remember whether it's 1884 or 1894, in many cases the approximate time is all that is wanted. Unfortunately, 1894, though approximate, may be incorrect and will usually be marked accordingly. So you are supposed to, qualify your answers with the specific details and the knowings or the accurate data, and to support them with the qualified data, as to not digress or not to talk about those things which you don't know of, or give an impression that you have written or you have quoted something wrong. So while quoting, make sure that you qualify answers when you are in a doubt. Now summarize in your last paragraph. To do so, restate your central idea and indicate why it is important. So your summary is kind of a summing up of the whole question. So try to make sure that you are going to restate your central idea and indicate why it is important. Now to give you a review, complete questions left incomplete while you are doing the review of your essay. Try to see that there are complete questions which are left incomplete, which ones you have decided one particular time for, and you are during your review time you can complete them, but allow time to review all questions also, because you are not going to concentrate on those questions which were left incomplete by you while you were attempting your other questions. Review, edit and correct for misspellings, for the structure, for the grammar, for punctuations and so on. Then following directives for essays in exams. Now we come to some of the directions and some of the directions that you can follow for your essay exam thoroughly. Now the first thing that you are supposed to keep in mind is that these directives whatsoever the action words like define, describe, elaborate, summarize, criticize and so on and so forth ask you to do something in the exam. You are going to stick to these directives, ask you to answer or present information in a particular way. Now review these, and most of all note that there are different ways of answering a question or writing a paper. So you are going to stick to all the instructions that are being presented in the paper. Now there are some directives for essay exam that you can follow. Note these down, and there can be many more you can learn through experience. This is particularly talking about the essay exam, because I know writing an essay in the exam is not an easy task, and you need a lot of effort to be put on while you are so much under stress and while you are so panicked. You are supposed to write down a lot on the piece of paper. Now the first thing or the first kind of essay that can come in front of you is compare essay. Now try to revise and try to recall the definition of compare essay. It examines qualities or characteristics to discover resemblances. Compare is usually stated as compare with. You are to emphasize similarities, although differences may be mentioned also. So once you are being asked asked to compare essay or to draw the comparison of these two things or these two items or these two people, you are supposed to keep in mind that you are going to characterize the similarities, although you can also talk about the differences when it talks about when it comes to the comparison. So understood? If you are being asked to in the exam, you won't be simply asked to write down the comparison essay on so and so topic. You would be asked so dramatically or in a very different way that you compare can be the first action verb that can come in your question, but that can also be the last one. You are supposed to focus on and find out what action verb you are to focus on while attempting any essay paper. So try to grasp the meaning of all these types of essays that we are going to discuss, and then try to see that how you are supposed to elaborate them once you pick up the question to be solved in the exam and to be solved. So the first thing that the first type or the first directive that is to be kept in mind if you are being asked to compare, you are supposed to keep in mind that you are going to characterize the similarities, although you can also characterize the differences to focus on or to enhance or to majorly work on the similarities in the essay. Moving on to the next slide, if you are being asked to contrast two different people or draw the contrast of two different places, your focus should be to stress the dissimilarities, differences or unlikeness of things, qualities, events or problems. So your main focus should be on describing the differences or dissimilarities once you are being asked to write down the contrast essay, or once you are being asked to do the contrast of two items, two objects, two people, two places, and so on and so forth. So now moving on to the next slide, if you are being asked to criticize, express your judgment or correctness or merit, discuss the limitations and good points or contributions of the plan or the work in question. Now see, if you are being asked to criticize on something, try to make sure that you do it in such a way that since criticism calls for picking up the good and the bad qualities, picking up the advantages and disadvantages, picking up the positives and negatives, once you are being asked to criticize, focus on these things, because that is about the judgment of correct and wrong, the judgment of the right and wrong, judgment of good and bad. So this is all your judgment, so you are going to based on your personal judgment, you are going to criticize any piece of work. Now if you are being asked to define something, definitions call for concise, clear, authoritative meanings. Keep in mind that if you are being asked to define any particular idea, any abstract idea, try to make sure that your vocabulary and your information is vast enough that you can quote from different resources, and then you can develop one own definition of your own. Because while process of writing, you have become so smart that you can write down things on your own as well. Details are not required by limitations of the definition, should be briefly cited. So if you are citing it down, or if you are quoting the references of definition, you are supposed to properly cite them. For that you have to have a very vast vocabulary, and you have to have a very vast information of the different varieties of topic. Now see, the thing that we learned from once we are talking about each and every type of essay, if we get in the exam, we get to know that you have to have a broader study and a broader scale on which you can draw your attention, and you can gather a lot of information in your exam. So while you are being asked to define something, another thing that you are supposed to keep in mind is that you must keep in mind the class to which a thing belongs, and whatever differentiates the particular object from the others in the class. So if you are being asked to define one particular class, you are supposed to Keep in mind the class which a thing belongs and whether differentiates the particular object from the other classes. So try to see that how in terms of its similarities and differences from the other objects you can make it look different from the others. Now, if you are being asked to describe something, make sure that in descriptive answer you should recount, characterize, sketch or relate in the narrative form. Now, your description is somewhat a narration. Once you are being asked to describe something, you describe it from the every possible end from you can. So you are going to see that how you are going to recount or how you are going to recollect all the information to be presented in front of the reader. Another thing that you can be asked to do in the exam is to evaluate. If you are being given the evaluation essay, in the evaluation question you are expected to present a careful appraisal of the problem, stressing both advantages and limitations. So your evaluation calls for your personal analysis, so you are going to make sure that you stress on both advantages and limitations of that very thing. Evaluation implies authoritative and to a larger degree or to a lesser degree personal appraisal of both contributions and limitations. So your appraisal or your comments should be very careful one, because in evaluative essay personal judgment or your personal point of view doesn't count, because you are supposed to support your argument with the evidences and with the proper examples that you want to quote in your evaluative essay. Now, if you are being asked to explain something in explanatory essay, it is imperative that you clarify and interpret the material you present. So interpretation is more important, explanation is more important if you are being asked to explain something. In such an answer, it is best to state how or why. So you try to answer these two questions, that how and why. So you try to see the delimitations of why something happened and how it happened in your explanation essay. Reconcile any differences in the opinion and experimental results, and where possible state causes. So your arguments should be factual, should be statistical, and through your analysis you are going to prove and then you are going to explain thoroughly that how do you clarify and interpret so and so topic that you are being given to work on. Because the aim is to make plain the conditions which give rise to whatever you are examining. So your main purpose is to explain something. So are you prepared to take essay exam? Now that we have talked about all the different types of essays, that how you are supposed to pick up one, and we have minused the narrative essay and the personal essay, because I know better that you can write your narration and personal essay on your own, because that is all about your personal experiences. All the other types of essays are a bit formal and they need to be followed one structure, one particular formal structure, and then they are to be divided into different thoughts that are presented on the one platform. So I hope that now that you have known about all the essay types that can come in the exam and the kinds of the verbs that can be used for writing down one essay on so and so topic, now I hope that you are fully prepared for taking up the essay exam. You know that how to set your time for your attempting your essay exam, and how to actually manage your paper within the limited span of time. What are the things that you are supposed to do, how you are supposed to attempt all the questions, how much time you are supposed to give to each and every answer, how you are supposed to answer questions by underlining the basic points written in the question, and how you can actually focus on the important things first and how you can move on further. So to take an essay exam, don't be nervous. First of all, it's difficult to relax during an exam, but there are steps you can take to be more successful during an essay exam. So I know that exam is the one word that makes you a lot of nervous and panicked sometimes. So if you stick to some of the successful rules while attempting your essay paper, you can best solve it, and you can best do it, and you can give good results, and you can get good grades in your exams. Now there are some steps to success. Read the essay question carefully. The first thing that you are supposed to do while attempting one essay exam, if I give you one, you are supposed to do one thing. First of all, that you are going to read the essay question carefully. Underline keywords in the question that will help you decide what kind of information to include in your answer. Now to do so, you are supposed to keep in mind is that you are going to underline like this. You are going to underline the keywords in the question that will help you decide what kind of information to include in your essay. So what kind of information are you supposed to include in your essay that would be specifically being asked in the question. So try to underline all those things which are there in your question to be discussed. Now practice. Read the exam question below. Which words are the most important words in the question? Now the question says, let me pick up the ball pen. Many parents do not allow their children to attend the funeral service of a person who has died. Do you think children should be allowed to attend funerals? Why or why not? Give 3 reasons. Now if you read this question, you are first of all supposed to comment on the funeral service and the idea that why parents do not allow their children to the funeral service of a person who has died. Do you think children should be allowed to attend funerals? Now this is your idea number 2 that you are supposed to wander on, starting from your idea number 1. Now point number 3 would be why or why not. You are supposed to comment on both of them, making it A and B. In your paragraph number 3, you are supposed to comment on that, and then give 3 reasons. Give 3 reasons why, and give 3 reasons why not. So that will be 1, 2 and 3 for this, and 1, 2 and 3 for this one. So this is how you divide your paper, and this is how you decide on writing the introduction of your paper, and then you start on writing down the body paragraphs. In your introduction you will thoroughly talk about the funeral service, then in your body you will talk about that either children are allowed to attend the funerals, then in your body you will divide into why and why not, and then you will come up with the points that you have discussed here, and then these 3 reasons, and then you would come up with your conclusion. So this is how you can write one good essay paper based on the question, the practice question that was given to you here. Now moving on to the next slide, rephrasing the question into the statement. Now if you are going to help yourself rephrase the question into the statement, whatsoever question has been asked in the exam, try to rephrase that into your own words. This can serve as a thesis statement for your essay answer, or a topic sentence for one paragraph answer. Now it can also serve as one thesis statement or your essay answer, but it is going to be also helpful because you are going to see that how this rephrasing helps you understand that either you have understood the idea in the best way or not. So try to rephrase the question in the statement that is given in the on the sheet of paper to be solved. Now look at the example below of how a question can be rephrased into a statement. Question says that in what ways has TV affected society? This is your question being asked in your exam, and you have your thesis statement here. Once you try to rephrase that, some of the effects of TV on society are. So this is how you have rephrased 1, 2, 3, and as many effects as you want to talk about will come later in your paper. So this is how you write down the rephrased question on your own, and that rephrased version of the question becomes your essay question or your thesis statement. Now read the exam question below. How can you rephrase this into a statement? There is example number 2. Question says that what is your major in college? Why did you choose that major? Support your answer. Now your thesis statement would be that I choose the major of computer science because I enjoy working on computers. It will be easy to find a job when I graduate, and it's a challenging field. So your point of focus should be on elaborating the challenging field first of all. Then it will be easy to find a job, and then you enjoy working on the computers. Your focus would be on these 3 major points in your sub paragraphs once you decide on, or once you have developed your thesis statement. Moving on to the next slide, you brainstorm on paper, write down notes, words. Now write down notes, words, phrases, facts, quotations about the questions. So there are so many things that you can write down which can be of a great help while you are attempting your essay paper. Do this on the rough sheet. Now remember that you are going to do everything on the rough sheet or on the back side of the answer sheet that you are being provided. Get down as much information as you can. So jot down or brainstorm. Basically you are to brainstorm all the ideas from your mind on the piece of paper to gather as much information on the rough sheet as much as you can. The way we make the outline, we do not discard it. In the same way you are supposed to write down or make your outlines or write down your notes, words or phrases on the rough sheet of the piece of paper. Now focus your answer, read through your brainstorm notes and select information of your answer. Now you are going to read through the brainstorm notes and select information for the answer. Now your next target would be that you are going to focus on the answer by selecting the information from your rough sheet. From the points or from the notes that you have made, right? So cross out irrelevant idea in your notes and add ideas that you think are important. So you are going to see that which things you are supposed to keep and which things you are supposed to discard. Now make a rough plan of your answer. Decide on the order that you would like to follow when presenting your ideas. Prepare a rough outline, and here is the example that you can very well see. You have written down the title here, title of the essay, your thesis statement here, your question, or maybe rephrased version or paraphrased version that you have noted down from the question that have been asked. Now these are your paragraphs which will allow you to write about the main thesis statement that you have mentioned in your paragraph, and this is your conclusion where you will sum up all the details. So this is how you write down your this is the rough pattern of this is the rough format of how do you plan your answer with the help of an outline. Now write your essay. Now remember to look at the clock while you write. You need to know how much time you have left. So if you have decided to write within 1 hour, try to make sure that you divide your portions accordingly. You would give this much time to introduction, this much time to your supporting details, and maybe 5 or 7 minutes to your summary. So keep the track of the time, and you are not going to miss out information that was written in your outline, and write down the best answers as much as you can. Now reread your answer during the testing period. Be sure that it is complete. If you want to add something, write it in the space above the sentence where you want to add it, and use an arrow. One of the main effects of atomic bomb on Hiroshima was ill health of people affected by here if you see the writer earlier forgot to write down the high amount. He has inserted that later by mentioning this arrow, that high amount of radiation, right? So this is how you can write down later by writing down your information with the help of arrows within the paragraphs. Now edit your answer. On an in-class writing exam, you will not be able to edit as carefully as you can when writing an out of class. So this is your in-class exam where you are having the limited time as compared to the way you were supposed to practice your essay writing every day. That was somewhat different because you had a lot of time and you had a lot of margin of working on your essay. So your in-class exam is somewhat different from your out-class. The way your quizzes and your assignments are different from your examination. However, because some mistakes in grammar and even spelling can be confusing, it is important that you edit. So to avoid all the grammatical, spelling and punctuation errors, you are supposed to edit your answers thoroughly. To do so, try to see that you divide your time accordingly and get time for editing as well. So we are done with all the steps that you are supposed to follow while writing one good essay in your exam. On an essay exam, read the question carefully. First of all, make sure that you have read the question carefully. Rephrase the question into a statement that would give you your thesis statement. Brainstorm ideas on rough sheet. Then focus on your answer. Now that you have brainstormed all the ideas on the rough sheet, try to focus on the answer and try to outline those things, try to keep those things which are related, then make a rough outline that will help you decide that how you are going to, or which points you are going to add in your paper. Write your essay and look at the time. Now you are going to keep the track of the time. This time management is very important. Reread your answer carefully and then in the end edit for any punctuation mistakes, any grammar mistakes or any spelling mistakes. So these are some of the steps that you are supposed to do while taking your essay exam. That brings us to the end of today's lecture. Let's talk about the summary, that what have we done in today's lecture. We have discussed that what is an essay exam. Basically the fear of exam is everywhere wherever you go, starting from the kindergarten school kid to the university professor or the one who is doing his PhD. So don't worry about that. You are not those people, or you are not masters of something. You are ordinary human beings, and of course there is a fear of exam also. So I have given you some tips by discussing that how you can prepare for your exam, then how you can take the exam, how you can attempt the essay questions, what are the merits of essay exam, how you can write the answers for your exams, what are the steps that you are supposed to follow while attempting one essay exam. So that brings us to today's lecture. There is a list of references that was from where all the references were taken, and I hope that you have learned how to attempt an essay in the essay exam, and you can attempt one before we actually give you one essay in the exam. So that brings us to the end of essay writing skills. Now in the next lecture we will begin and we will start with our presentation skills. You are supposed to consult the very first lecture that we have discussed, that was about the language and communication, because as we are moving towards our presentation skills, remember presentation involves your verbal and non-verbal communication too. So your speaking as well as your non-verbal communication is there. So you would have to see that how your productive skills can appeal or can confirm or can transform your message to the next person. So before before I come again for the next class to tell you about presentation skills, you are not to worry about your exam since they are very close. You are to read out each and everything that we have done and stick to all the rules and regulations and all the techniques that I have shared with you for attempting one essay paper. So I wish you a very good luck for your quizzes, for your assignments, for your sessionals of essay writing, and as I go for preparing to give you another interesting lecture on presentation skills, you work on your essays before you get your essay exam. Till then, take good care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.